Good morning, Morai, Rabotai, Bruchim Abayim. We are continuing on Masechet Rosh Hashanah, and we are on Daf Yud Zayin, Amud Bet, 10 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. Today's Amud is being learned as a Zechut, Refuah Shel Imam, for Rachel Simcha Bad Nahid, Daniel Moshe Ben Farangis Avraham, the should have Refuah Shel Imam, also L'Aliyat Neshama of Kianush Pinchas Ben Ovadia. Today's Amud is also being learned as a Zechut for Sharona Bat Zoy Lachaya Simcha, she'll find her Zivug Be'ezrat Hashem Bekarov. This month's learning of the community has been graciously dedicated by the Shei family. Should be an ultimate zechut for the mishpacha. Amen. So we started the famous words of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan holds it depends really. The Gezerah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu could be tore apart after tshuva, even though with the tshuva, even though that the Gezar Din already has happened. That Gedolat tshuva, the tshuva is great. Again, the Gemara Masechet Yuma has 7 different comments on how great the tshuva is, and this really should be tagged along with those, the words of Rabbi Yochanan, that tshuva is so great that when you do a genuine tshuva, it has within its power to uproot and tear apart even a Gezar Din that has already been done. The Gemara started asking multiple kashas on it. And again, the Gemara starts from the first wide line of Gedolat Tshuva Shemakarat Gezar Dino Shel Adam. And the Gemara started asking question after question. And the last question that we had in our Gemara differentiated between Yachid and Rabim. The Gemara spoke about Eretz Yisrael and the rain in Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Asher Einu Hashem Lokecha Ba Mereshit Hashana Ad Acharit Shana. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a specific providence and Ashgacha on Eretz Yisrael. And the way the Gemara explained it was that when you had a din of Rosh Hashanah, imagine if Jews were all Reshaim on Rosh Hashanah, or they had a Gezar Din, a psak of a Rasha. So the psak was not a lot of rain this year. And then they all did tshuva during the course of the year. Let's imagine right after Yom Kippur, they became tzaddikim. Says the Gemara, well, we can't really change the Gzar Din of the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So Hashem does, to maintain the Gzar Din and also give them a good year, is you have specifically directed rain in the places that they need rain, at the time that you need rain, and with a minimal amount of water, you will have a very blessed year. So you see from here, the Gemara wanted to suggest that the Gezar Din, after it was paskind, it cannot be changed. It can't be changed. And the Gemara said also the opposite, that if they were tzaddikim at the time of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and Hashem gave them a psak that you're going to have plenty of water this year, and then they became Rashaim afterwards. After Yom Kippur, they said, we got a good din. Okay, now we have one more year to do whatever we want. Then what's going to happen? Well, you can't change the Gzar Din of the Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, said the Gemara. But what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do to get back with them is the rain is going to come when they don't need it, when it's destructive. The rain is going to come where you don't need it, and it's not beneficial, and you'll have a horrible agricultural year, even though that you got a subtotal of amazing amount of water, right? Now, the Gemara asks is, wait a second, at least in the first scenario, when they did tshuva and they became better, Hashem should tear apart the Gezerah. And said the Gemara, well, if you can maintain the Gezerah and yet get around it in the Totzah, that's what we will do. And therefore Hashem, if you could have direct rain in places and at times that's needed without changing the subtotal amount of rain of Eretz Yisrael, then that's what he's going to do. So you see from here, said the Gemara, that, well, you can't necessarily change the Gzar Din even with tshuva afterwards. And the Gemara answered, said, well, that depends on how it was done. Whether it was Berabim or Beyachid, the Gemara is going to say now. Tashma, another question. another kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. Again, Rabbi Yochanan said you could change the Gzar Din even after he was paskind. And the Gemara is going to ask a question that you see from an example here in the Gemara, that perhaps you can't change the Gzar Din if it was already paskind. Says the pasuk, Yordei hayam ba'aniyot, oseh melacha b'mayim rabim. This is what we say in Rosh Chodesh, right? Yordei hayam ba'aniyot, oseh melacha b'mayim rabim. Hem hara'u ma'aseh Hashem v'nifneotav b'msulam. They saw the wonders of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayomer v'yamed ruach sara, v'teromem galav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded that it should be a storm with massive waves. Yalu shamayim yerdu teomot. I imagine these people are on a ship. It's going up up with the massive waves coming down. Yerdu teomot nafsham bara'atit mogag. They are in tremendous danger. Yachogu v'yano keshikor. The ship is moving like a drunken. It's sad that there's nothing working. They're completely in the hands of this storm. What happens when you have no idea how to save yourself, when you're out of any pattern of luck, and you have nothing to do? You start davening to Hashem. They cried out to Hashem in their sorrow. Umi mesukotehem yotziem. And Hashem saves them, takes them out of their sorrow. Yakem sa'ara lidmama. Hashem quiets down the sa'ara, the storm. Vayecheshu galehem. And the waves settle down. Right? Vayismechu ki ishtoku vayanchem el mechoz chefsam. And they are happy because the thing quieted down, and Hashem guides them to their destination. Obviously, afterwards, Yodul Hashem Chasto v'nifleotav livnei Adam. They thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu because of the chesed that he had, and tell over his wonders to people. Right? So, says the Gemara, Asalahem simaniot ke'achin v'rakin. David HaMelech, this is Mizmor Kuf Zayin in Tehillim, and in the Mesoret, David HaMelech, or other girsas here have HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they have backwards nun, backwards, not upside down like you have in Chumash, but you have backwards, right? You have backwards, meaning it's facing instead of facing the left, it's facing the right, right? It's backwards, so it has nuns that are backwards. Now, if you have nuns that are backward, what is the significance? The significance, says the Gemara, is it becomes like achin v'rakin. These simaniot, these backward nuns, are coming to tell you that it's not as it sounds like. And it's like ach v'rak. Now, if you have in Chumash, in Tanakh, ach or rak, those two things are mutin. They come to minimize and specifically refer to certain things, not everything that it seems to be including in the pasuk. So therefore, if it's ach v'rak, that means not every case of vayis'aku el Hashem v'asar lahem mimosukotehem yotziem is true. Not every time that you cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be saving you from the difficulty you're in. Lomar lecha is coming to teach you, Sa'aku kodem gezardin ne'enin, Sa'aku le'achar gezardin enenin. This achin v'rakin, these two backward nuns, are coming to teach you that only certain times se'aka is going to work for you to come out of your sorrow, and that's before Hashem stamped your gezardin. Once the gezardin has been issued, then sa'aku ve'en Moshiach. It could be a case, chas v'shalom, that you could cry out and there's nothing doing. So Gemara says, you see from here, that what Rabbi Yochanan said, that Gedolat Tshuva shel Mekarat Gezar Dino shel Adam, is not so pashut. It's not always that Tshuva could knock out the Gzar Din of a person. Here, if the Gzar Din was paskind, well, if the whole point of Rabbi Yochanan was, the Tshuva even reverses a Gzar Din. That means after he was paskind. And here you see that the Nun is coming to tell you that if Hashem has made his mind, if the Gzar Din has been made, then there's nothing doing. Not like Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said Tshuva always works. And this Gemara says, no, it doesn't. If the Gzar Din was made, then you could do Tshuva and it's not going to work. So says the Gemara, Hani nami ki echidin damu. God gives the same exact answer. Says, this people, because again, how I mean of the Gemara is that these people it's not one single person on a ship. You could have a Titanic, you could have a ship with many people there. So it's like a tzibur. And yet, you see, the tshuva of a tzibur doesn't work even. And why says no? Even if you have many individuals on a ship, that's exactly what it is, many individuals. It's not a tzibur, it's not a community. You don't have a community on a ship. You have many individuals on a ship. So each one of their tefillot is like a tefillah of yachid. Their tshuva vayisaku el Hashem batzar lahem is like a tshuva of yachid. So therefore, Gemara says the answer I gave in the previous question still stands. That if you have a tshuva of a community, there's nothing standing in front of a tshuva of a community. And even if Hashem has issued a psak din, you could rip through it with tshuva. And that's what Rabbi Yochanan said. You asked me from Tehillim Kuf Zayin, that seems to have this backward nuance indicating that after Gezar Din there's nothing doing. Yeah, correct. But that's for Yechidim, because even though that you have multiple people on a ship, that still is considered multiple Yechidim. It's not a community, says the Gemara. So again, you see how we are bending backwards to establish what Rabbi Yochanan said. We have all these questions on Rabbi Yochanan, and every time we say, no, it's not really a question, because Rabbi Yochanan is speaking about a tzibur, a rabim. There is nothing that can stand in front of tshuva of a tzibur. Just like it is very much reminiscent of the Gemara in Masechet Brachot, that the tefillah of a tzibur, there's nothing that stands in front of it. He knocks out everything. The tefillah of tzibur is accepted. There's no rejecting a tefillah of tzibur, right? The tefillah of a person is accepted when it's besibur, because Hen El Kabir Velo Yimas, Hashem does not disgrace the zchut of Rabim when they stand in tefillah. Hey, Yachid, good luck, right? Miyom shenechra bet hamikdash, says the Gemara, Chomat barzel mafseket ben Yisrael la'avihem shebashamayim. It's like an iron curtain, literally, that stops between Jews and their Father in the heaven, that the tefillah is going to be very difficult. Sakota be'ananya lach ma'avor tefillah, the pasuk darshins that in Echa, that you created like an iron dome, that the tefillah is not going to go up. And the Gemara says that's only for a yachid, a rabim that davens. The tefillah of rabim goes up. Many people think that, okay, one tefillah, is it the Rabbanah? Is it Rav Moshe Feinstein holds that davening betzibur is a full-fledged mitzvah darabanan. It's a chiyuv. If you don't do it, it's a averah. It's not just that's a nice thing to daven betzibur. But forget about that. You want the tefillah to be accepted? Everyone needs the tefillah to be accepted. The Gemara says, good luck with that. If you are, you're still obligated to daven, even if you don't have a tzibur, but good luck that tefillah should be accepted, unless obviously a person is going to have tears. If not, that's a different story. Because the Gemara says in Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Nun Tet, Kol ha'sha'arim ninalu. All the gates of heavens have been locked. That's a strong language. Kol ha'sha'arim ninalu. Chutz misha'arei dim'ah. Sha'arei dim'ah lo ninalu. The gates of tears. If a person davens, and it's not just davening, any tears that's legit. The Gemara happens to be speaking there about someone causing pain for their wife. And even though that the wife could be very sensitive, something that he would not cry for because he's a man, but she's going to cry for because she's a woman, still he will be in deep trouble because his wife is crying, and those tears go straight up, right? It goes straight up. Someone was saying that the Khatam Sofer, still today, up to today, after 200 plus years, all of the descendants of Khatam Sofer, they're all frum. This is an unbelievable, like almost miraculous thing to have a family that there's nobody that's not frum after hundreds of years. And again, you have statistics. And statistics not applying to one family out of every other family is obviously nothing but miraculous. So they said, because Khatam Sofer, he himself one time, one of his colleagues asked him, he was so taken back by the greatness of the Khatam Sofer, the son of Khatam Sofer, with the Torah that he had. And Khatam Sofer told him, he said, you think it came for free? He took his hat off. He said, you know how many times I've filled this up with tears to have good kids? You think it's just like that? They say Khatam Sofer, when he would stay, he had a long Shemona Esrei, and he would cry every Shemona Esrei to the degree that when he would take Oseh Shalom 3 steps back, you could see the place that he was standing was wet from tears. That, you know, it's the Sha'arei Dim'a Lo Nir'ah, could do miraculous things with that. But be as it may, Rabbi Yochanan said something, and we are bending backwards. Literally, the Gemara is bending backwards to establish what Rabbi Yochanan said. Why do I emphasize this? Because the Gemara is going to now have a machloket Tanaim about this in just a moment. But says the Gemara, another question. Tashema. They asked the Bet Midrash another question. Shala Beluria Gioret. This was a queen. Beluria, the Gioret, the convert. The Gemara speaks about this in Masechet Yevamot Daf Memvav, in Masechet Gerim, right? In Perek Bet Mishnah Gimal. That Beluria Gioret asked Rabbi Gamliel the following question: Ktiv betoratchem. It says in your Torah, Asher lo yisa panim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not differentiate between people, has no favoritism. He shows no favoritism. Uchtiv, and it says Yisa Hashem panav elecha. And it says Hashem will show favoritism to you. Now, first of all, the Tosafot says right away, and on our Amud right over here, that really Pashut Pshat of this question of Beluria Gioret is not even a question, doesn't even start. Because Lo Yisa Panim is talking about, Kach Shochad is talking about favoritism in judgment. Yisa Hashem Panav Elecha means Hashem will show you His face. Not that He will take your face over somebody else's, but He will show you a smiling face. He will be kind to you, right? It's not a matter of favoritism. But really, this question was asked, and we had, if it sounds familiar, is because we had it together in Masechet Brachot Daf Chaf. The Gemara there asked this very question, and the Gemara gave a completely different answer. The Gemara said there the discussion is Birkat Hamazon, you have to eat, how much do you have to eat, and so on. And the Gemara said HaKadosh Baruch Hu Himself answered this question. He says, yes, I do show favoritism to one unit in this world. One exception to the rule that I don't show favoritism is Jews. Jews, I do favoritism. Why? Because how can I not? Look at what they do. It's midah keneged midah. It's measure for measure. I have told them, you eat, you're full, you're completely satiated, then you say bracha, and they are busy, kazayit, kabetza, in a little bit. They are so super careful in the mitzvot, they go so out of the way to be careful, they're concerned that maybe this already generates a chiyuv, and so on. They go way, miles and miles out of their way, beyond the call of duty and letter of the law. So how can I not go out of the call of duty for them above and beyond the letter of the law? right? That's the answer of the Gemara in Masechet Brachot. Our Gemara is going to give two answers, not like what Tosfot said, and not like what the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot. Says the Gemara, Nitfalla Rabbi Yossi HaKohen. Rabbi Yossi HaKohen answered this queen below Riah Gioret, and he said to her, Amala, Emshol Lecha Mashal. So let me explain to you this with an example. It was a parable. Mashal Lema Davar Dome. You know what this is similar to? A person that owes his friend 100 coins, and in front of in presence of the king, they made up a time that by this time he's going to be paying. Reuben is going to pay Shimon by this date. And the borrower swore to the life of the king that I'm going to be paying back by this date. The time came, and he didn't pay up. He couldn't pay up. So that's such a disrespect to the king, right? You swore to the life of the king, and now you just didn't do it. So the borrower comes to the king and says, Adoni HaMelech, I am ashamed. I used your name, your crown. I swore to the crown of the king, and I couldn't do it. It's such a disrespect to the king, right? Amar lo, the king says, okay, el boni machulach. I forgive my part. I forgive my disgrace that you mentioned my name, you swore, and you didn't do it. That's very bad. But but you have to still pay up to the guy. Lechu payes et chavercha. Go and appease your friend. Hachanami, Rabbi Yossi HaKohen says to this Gioret, to Beluria Gioret, says, Hachanami, here also, kan be'averot sheben adam lemakom, kan be'averot sheben adam lechavero. Averot that are ben adam lemakom, averot that are between you and Hashem, then, you ask Hashem and He forgives. Averot sheben adam lechavero, but averot that are between you and your friend, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu cannot. So when he says, Yisa Hashem parav elecha, means HaKadosh Baruch Hu could forgive. He will be Yisa Hashem parav elecha. He will show you a smiley face when you do tshuva. But if you messed up in interpersonal relationships, then lo yisa panim v'lo yikach shachar. There's no way you could appease Hashem. You have to go appease your friend. This is what the Rambam writes, that averot sheben adam lechavero, Yom HaKippurim is not mechaber until you go appease the guy, right? Really, it goes both ways. The Rambam also writes in the beginning of Avechot Shuvah that if you messed up within the parameters of a ben adam lechavero, you stole, right? And you went to the guy, the guy forgave you, and you paid back, so you're clear. You're still not out of the pit, because you also have transgressed keneged Hashem. Every ben adam lechavero is also a ben adam lemakom. So aside from the fact that you have to appease the guy and pay back the damages, you have to also do tshuva for stealing. That's between you and Hashem as well. So that's the differentiation that the Gemara gives. At sheba Rabbi Akiva velimed, finish this, until Rabbi Akiva came and answered this question differently. This very question of Yisa Hashem panav elecha, Hashem showing favoritism to you. Says Rabbi Akiva, kan kodem gezardin, kan la'achar gezardin. You know what the difference is? The difference is, before gezardin, Yisa Hashem panav elecha. He could show you, could be nice. After gezardin, after already has been signed and sealed, lo yisa panim v'lo yikach shochat, there's nothing doing. Right? Before and after gezardin will make a massive difference. So says the Gemara, you see from Rabbi Akiva's answer, that after gezardin there's nothing doing. The tshuva is not going to work. Rabbi Akiva said this. The Gemara answers the same exact answer. Again, bending ourselves backwards. No. He's also talking about a yachid. A tzibur, when you have a community, they do tshuva even after gezardin is going to work, but yachid is not going to work. So this was the back and forth to all the questions. We finished all the questions on Rabbi Yochanan, and we basically survived the questioning line by saying there's a difference, a massive difference between a community doing tshuva and a yachid. So far, we are suggesting that a yachid, and this is has a lot of nafkamina. You go through, this makes the Rosh Hashanah and Aseret Yemei Tshuva and Yom Kippur 10 times more important, if not 100 times more important, because it comes, Shad Ne'ilah, you get locked, and there's nothing doing afterwards. If there was Chas v'Shalom a not positive Gezar Din, forget about it, right? Now the Gemara, tomorrow's Gemara is very much more hopeful, because the Gemara is going to say, this is Machloket Tanaim, and the other side of the aisle is that no, even a yachid with the proper tshuva, maybe many times harder, but even a yachid with the proper way of doing tshuva could tear apart a Gezar Din even after the Gezar Din is made, which B'ezrat Hashem we will see in the next Amud. Chazak Baruch.